Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new Camp Cretaceous video. A little over a week ago, the second season of Camp Cretaceous premiered on Netflix, and wow, what a ride! I had so much fun, and there is so much to talk about. Now, I've already reviewed the first season of Camp Cretaceous, and yeah, I had a lot of positive things to say about that. So what about season 2? Well, that's what this video's for. I'm going to review the second season of Camp Cretaceous and give my initial thoughts and opinions. But before I get started, there are a few important things you should know. First thing is a spoiler warning. There are going to be spoilers for both seasons 1 and 2 of Camp Cretaceous. Second thing is that I want to keep my Camp Cretaceous reviews consistent with each other, so this review is going to be audio only, just like my season 1 review. And finally, I'm going to put timestamps in the description that correspond with specific topics. So if you want to hear me talk about character development, for instance, check the description for the timestamp. So with all that said, let's get started with my review of Season 2 of Camp Cretaceous. The first thing I want to talk about is my favorite thing about Jurassic Park/World, the dinosaurs. Just like with Season 1, the dinosaurs all looked great in this season. Here, they mixed it up a bit in terms of the different dinosaurs we saw, because we got quite a few new dinosaurs this season. So for this part, I'm going to talk about the new dinosaurs that were featured in Season 2. So I'll start off with the icon of the series, the T-Rex. So if you remember from my last season review, one of the things I was hoping to see this season is the T-Rex. And my wish came true. And then some. I mean, she didn't just get like a short little cameo like the video game scene last season. She got multiple appearances. She was awesome this season. She looked great and added a lot to the story. There were so many great scenes with the T-Rex, and a lot of badass shots of her as well. The shot of her standing on the busted-up car is so cool and nostalgic to the original Jurassic Park, and I also love the shot of her chasing the dinosaur herd and the kids. What I like best about the T-Rex's portrayal this season is that she transitioned back to being a free dinosaur, doing her natural thing, hunting in the jungle, roaming the island, and building her nest. And I liked that she was the one who killed Mitch. I hope we can see more of Rexy next season, too. That's right, I called her Rexy. Sammy called her Rexy too. This should settle things about her name now, right? I mean, the show is canon. If you guys remember, the Baryonyx didn't get a lot of screen time in Fallen Kingdom, but for Camp Cretaceous, it was great to see lots of cool action scenes, from not just one Baryonyx, but 3 of them. Grim, Limbo, and Chaos, the Baryonyx Trio. I really liked how each one had a distinguishing look. I'd say Chaos is my favorite design of the 3 with the blue pattern. What was really cool to see was that the 3 of them were like a family, caring for each other, sticking together, and looking out for each other. So much so that Chaos and Limbo got revenge for I believe it was Grim's death. Honestly, after they killed Tiff, they should have their names changed to Karma and Justice. What do you guys think? Next comes a dinosaur that was featured in the Season 2 trailer, the Ceratosaurus. Even in all of Season 2, the Ceratosaurus didn't have a whole lot of screen time, but it was still more than what we got in Jurassic Park 3. The reason I'm mentioning the Ceratosaurus here is because it was featured in the trailer, and even though it wasn't much, the show was nice enough to throw in a cool chase scene. As for the big gray one, I'm not sure if that one's just an old Ceratosaurus or not, but it was different from the one that attacked the kids. This one was a lot more chill. And now we come to none other than Bumpy. First things first. Holy! Bumpy looks awesome! I did not think Bumpy was going to get that big so fast, but wow. Look at her! Her new design looks really good, and I really like how they kept her original blue and yellow colors. She really stands out from the other Ankylosauruses, and she had a lot of cool action scenes too, like her fight with Toro and running from the garage explosion, and that one scene of Ben riding her and running with the herd of dinosaurs reminded me of old childhood dreams I used to have. Best of all, her bond with Ben is stronger than ever. They are always by each other's side and are always looking out for each other. She may not be a baby anymore, but luckily, we got to see one more episode of her as a baby, and she was still as cute as ever. I just want to give her lots of snuggles and lots of hugs. I really hope she makes it off these Lanublar alive. Please, don't do this to us. Please let her live. For this season of Camp Cretaceous, we were introduced to 3 new human characters, Mitch, Tiff, and Hap. For obvious reasons, I did not like Mitch or Tiff. They're the kind of people that kill animals because they think it's fun. Just like when Tiff killed the Baryonyx. I love animals, and I love dinosaurs, so right away I thought, okay, these guys need to be stopped. But there's one thing I did like, about Mitch specifically. I found it interesting how he was very knowledgeable about dinosaurs, and how he used that to his advantage to win over Darius' trust when they first met. From a storytelling standpoint, that's a great quality for a villain to have. I thought that was an interesting touch, and that he came off as someone who did his research, although he did end up getting caught in one of his own traps. But now that I got those two buzzkills out of the way, I want to talk about Hap, because I think he was the most interesting new character this season. He actually reminds me of Oscar Morales from Jurassic Park, the game. You remember him, right? The big guy with the beard and the tattoos? That guy. Hap and Oscar have a lot in common with each other. They both seem to be rough around the edges, have tattoos, talk with a deep raspy voice, and seem to have dark and violent pasts. They're very similar characters, and they helped make their respective stories more interesting. It's kind of funny that Hap was actually the good guy out of the three new characters, because I thought he'd be the guy to watch out for, given his rough personality and the suspicious way he was acting towards the kids. But it was an interesting twist. He knew the people he was with were bad, and he wanted to make sure the kids didn't get hurt. Speaking of which, I also admired how he chose to stay behind and fight the Baryonyx Trio to let the kids escape. But now, he's apparently dead, which really sucks because I think he could have brought a lot more to the show as a character. There's just so much more about him that we don't know. Take what you can get, I guess. This next section's going to be a big one, so I highly recommend you check the description for the timestamps. Another thing I was hoping to see this season was more character development, and once again, the show delivered. Some characters got more development than others, but everyone's still getting some kind of development. So for this section, I'm going to go over each of the main characters and talk about their development so far. We'll start with Darius, the main protagonist. Another thing I like about Season 2 is that it explored the theme of animal ethics, focusing mainly on Darius to explore this theme. This was great for his character development. Darius had people challenge his morals, like when Mitch threatened to abandon them if Darius didn't help him find the dinosaurs to kill. I especially love that throughout all of this, Darius' love for the dinosaurs grew even stronger, and he helped protect them. I also thought it was cool to see just how smart and clever Darius really is. Like when he tricked the hunters by leading them to Main Street where the T-Rex was, instead of leading them to the watering hole. As the leading character, Darius has definitely proven himself to be a good leader and a good friend. Because even though he's had quarrels and disagreements with some of the kids, that's normal. What matters is that they all stuck together in the end. Next, we'll move on to Brooklyn, because she really stepped up this season. I really liked how she was intuitive, the way she was trying to piece together the mysteries of Isla Nublar, like E750. It was interesting to learn that maybe her parents aren't that worried about her, at least in her mind. Maybe she doesn't get any kind of attention from her parents, so she takes comfort in knowing that her followers give her the attention she never got from her parents. So when she finds out she's losing followers, she's losing more attention. That's the impression I got anyways. Hopefully we'll learn more about it in the future. Brooklyn contributed a lot this season, and everyone values her as a friend. Now let's move on to Kenji. I mentioned in my Season 1 review that Kenji was slowly growing on me, at least in a way that made me tolerate him more. But this season, I like him more now. Kenji's a lot more goofy and funny and laid back, and even though he still has his cocky attitude, he comes across more as light-hearted and comical, instead of snobby and self-centered. I loved when he had that emotional moment at the watering hole and he started crying. That was really good for him. As much as he's being developed right now, I still don't think he's as well developed as some of the other characters so far. As for Sammy, she's come a long way as a friend. She's a very caring and good person, and everyone trusts her, despite what her so-called mission was in the beginning. Even though she was spying for Manticore, she knew what it was like to care for animals because of her farm, and because of that, she really cared for and loved the dinosaurs, and I really admired that. Unfortunately, there wasn't a whole lot of development for Sammy this season. That's not to say she didn't have her shining moments, I'm just saying that compared to everyone else this season, she got the short end of the stick as far as character development goes. Now I'm going to go to a character that's got a lot of development this season, Yasmina. Yasmina's really come out of her shell now. She's a lot more open and sociable. She's always doing everything she can to help her friends, even with her injury. She's very tough and resilient. Granted, she did tend to be a bit stubborn at times when she didn't want to rest her ankle and ended up hurting herself even more, but I did feel that she realized that it's okay to have others help you, that you don't always have to do everything by yourself. And it's great that she was able to utilize her talents in drawing to make a blueprint of their fortress at Camp Cretaceous. I definitely think she's the most developed of the female characters so far. as well as my favorite female character so far. Alright, buckle down now because this is the big one. I wanted to save this character for last out of the bunch because I have a lot to say about him. I'm talking about Ben. Ben really shined this season, and he really stepped up. I find it funny that a goofy comment I made in passing in my Season 1 review actually came true. Ben came out of the jungle looking like a total badass, and Bumpy's more grown up now. The only difference is that Ben looked more like Rambo than Arnold Schwarzenegger. But anyway, Ben has really grown as a character. So many things that used to scare him don't scare him anymore. And best of all, he learned one of the most important lessons in life: adaptation. Ben's journey so far reminds me a lot of a very important lesson I learned in life. Here it is. Being brave doesn't mean you're never afraid. It's when you choose to persevere despite being afraid. And Ben realized that lesson. Ben was a lot more brave than he realized when he was alone, and even before then. Remember back in Season 1? He crawled across the top of the monorail surrounded by pteranodons to try to get to the main car. And he was scared while he did this. It was no different in Season 2 when he was alone. It took him a while to find the additional courage needed to survive. Now, we may have to read between the lines a bit for this next part here, since it wasn't shown on screen, but I'm sure it took Ben more than a couple of tries before he ate his first insect, or before he climbed all the way up the big tree overlooking the valley. He's learned so much, too. He learned how to camouflage himself with mud, and he even made a spear. Overall, I'm very happy with Ben's development so far. Now, there are some other important things I want to talk about regarding Ben's development, but I'll talk about those shortly. Now, in terms of the group as a whole, they've really come together even more now. It's funny how they had a lot more in common than they realized when they all start talking about the Esther Stone TV show they all watched at some point. The best thing is that they have great chemistry together, and each one of them is playing a very important part in their survival. No one's being left out and considered useless, at least in my opinion. Next topic. Now for the critiques. Thankfully, there's nothing I downright hated about this season, but I do think there are some things that could have been done differently. Here they are, and in no particular order. This first gripe is actually the same gripe I had in the first season, and that is Bumpy's accelerated growth rate. It's coming back again. As I said in my Season 1 review, I felt it was too over the top, even for Jurassic Park/World. It was just too fast, and because of that, Bumpy's not a baby anymore, and I'm gonna miss that. Now, I understand that Bumpy growing up was inevitable. I even thought it'd be cool if it eventually happened. I'm just sad that it happened so fast. Part of the reason I got so attached to Bumpy in the very beginning of the show is that we saw her as a cute little baby. Now we're not gonna have that anymore. But as I said earlier, Big Bumpy is awesome. I absolutely adore Bumpy, big or small, and I love her role in the story. I just wish we had a little more time with baby Bumpy before she grew up. Another thing I thought was unusual was how Ben survived. You may have seen my video suggesting that Ben could have landed in water and escaped. Sadly, that didn't happen. But that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. It's that the least likely thing I thought was going to happen was the thing that actually happened. It was cool that the pteranodons picked him up again, but then they dropped him from such a high height that you figured it would have killed him. This is a Jurassic World cartoon, not a Wile E. Coyote cartoon. I love those too, by the way. And the pteranodons didn't even try to go after him again when they dropped him. Weird. Oh well. This next one's debatable, but the scene of Ben fighting Toro was a little out of place for me. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't necessarily the fight itself I had an issue with, because the fight was cool. A little cartoony at times, but still cool. It was how the fight started that I thought was weird. Now, I get it. I understand that Ben's found even more courage, but he may have also gained a bit of recklessness, too. When Ben decided to go Leroy Jenkins and charge towards Toro, I remember thinking to myself, what are you doing? Even if there was no other way to safety but getting past Toro, I would have at least snuck around him rather than charge right at him. I think it would have been better if Toro found Ben first, then Ben would have to fight to defend himself. Ben picking fights with dinosaurs just seems out of place. As far as Ben goes, I love how far he's come, but I just hope he continues to develop and not just be the action hero guy. But hey, maybe this can be another opportunity for more character growth for Ben, but more on that later. Another thing I want to talk about is that Rexy was missing her scars. I know that may not sound like a huge deal to some people, and to be fair, it could have been worse. A lot worse. But still, Rexy's scars are a part of who she is. They're reminders of her story. I mean, there's so much detail in the dinosaurs already. I don't think it'd be too much to ask to see the scars, but it's too late now. It wouldn't make sense to just put them in now, or else there wouldn't be any consistency with the other seasons. The last thing just goes back to what I said earlier. I just would have liked to learn more about Hap. Maybe he got away, maybe he's dead. I'm gonna say he's probably dead, but in the odd chance that he survived, hopefully we'll see him again. So with everything we've seen in Season 2, what kind of things could we see in Season 3? I'll start with the obvious one that everyone's talking about, the cliffhanger of the last episode. What is E750? Personally, I think it's either some kind of hybrid or a Troodon like the ones from Jurassic Park the game. I mean, there is a new Camp Cretaceous Troodon toy out now, and I know that doesn't necessarily mean anything or a guarantee it's going to be in the show, but who knows? I just hope that we can find out what it is by watching more of Camp Cretaceous, and not by having to buy something like a spin-off video game and then having to download a bunch of special content or something like that. I just want to find out later on in the show. Next thing I want to see next season is even more character development. I really like what they've done so far, so I hope they keep doing it. More specifically, I hope that Season 3 can further develop the characters that didn't get as much development this season, like Sammy or Kenji. The biggest thing for me is that I hope Ben continues to develop. Like I said earlier, I love how far he's come and how he's found his courage. I just don't want him to lose his personality and be reduced to just action scenes. This next thing's just a very quick thing, but I want to hear your thoughts on it. Am I crazy to think there was a very subtle romantic spark between Kenji and Yasmina? You know, the episode where they stayed behind to gather supplies for the fortress? I don't really think the show's going to delve into that too much, but I couldn't help but notice. What do you think? Finally, the last thing that I'd like to see explored in Season 3 is the rescue mission. I don't know if I missed something, but what's going on with the rescue mission? Did nobody actually get the signal? Did someone just happen to leave their messenger open and not actually read it? Or did somebody get it and just ignore it? Don't get me wrong, I don't want the show to end just yet, but I'd like to see a development in this part of the story. So to wrap up for today, I thought Season 2 of Camp Cretaceous was very well done. Better than the first season, I think. There was a great balance between story and action, and a wonderful use of the original Jurassic Park music, and a lot of character development too. This show continues to deliver, and is lots of fun for kids and adults. And if this season's any indication as to where we can go from here, I can only imagine what kind of things we're going to see in Season 3. What are your thoughts on the second season of Camp Cretaceous? Let's talk about it in the comments. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more Camp Cretaceous videos, as well as other Jurassic Park and Jurassic World videos, check out my channel and subscribe for more. Hang in there, guys. See you next time.